And welcome to another edition of Life Outdoors. I am your host, Chris Reckling. Thank you for joining us here on Life Outdoors in our Wavy Plus studios. Today, we're taking the show on the road to one of our very beautiful parks here in Hampton Roads. It's a state park, and it is False Cape State Park. It is right on the border of Virginia and North Carolina, and it is spectacular for so many different reasons. And joining us today on the show is Austin Monnett, park manager and ranger there at False Cape State Park. Austin, welcome to Life Outdoors. How you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Before we talk about False Cape State Park, how long have you been a ranger? And you've kind of moved around a lot, right?
Yeah, I've been with Virginia State Parks for 7 years. I've been at False Cape State Park as a manager for about a year and a half now. January 2024 was when I first got there. But yeah, I've been with Virginia State Parks, and this is my third stop in 7 years.
Third stop in 7 years, but each park is different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what is it about False Cape State Park that you like? Because it's much different than Chipoka, where you were before.
Yeah, and I've always heard the saying, if everybody thinks they're unique, and if everybody thinks they're unique, that means nobody's unique. But False Cape is undoubtedly definitely the most unique in the state park system.
I mean, honestly, when you look at the geography of it, you're bordering the Atlantic Ocean and Back Bay,
Mm-hmm.
and so you're surrounded by water and sky. I mean, it is God's country for sure. It is beautiful. You have the best of Virginia and North Carolina right there.
Yeah, it's like Outer Banks without all the people.
There's nobody there. I mean, if you like unspoiled and natural, you're going to find it at False Cape State Park. Okay, so now that we've got to know you a little bit about yourself, tell us a little bit more about False Cape State Park, because you're bordering Back Bay Wildlife Refuge, and then boom, False Cape. What do you want people to know about False Cape?
Yeah, so the best way to think about it is it's Virginia's Outer Banks. So you've got the North Carolina Outer Banks that everybody knows about, but you know, there's this invisible state line. We actually have a horse fence down there at the state line, but you know,
And good luck keeping the horses out.
Yeah, sometimes they get through.
They figure
they either
out
swim or get a break in the fence or something.
Horses.
Like that. Yeah, but yeah, it extends basically north from the North Carolina Outer Banks into Sandbridge, and like you said, freshwater on the west side of the park and Atlantic Ocean on the east.
About 6 miles of beach, right?
Yeah, pretty much exactly 6 miles of beach, 15 miles of trails.
Do you recognize this road here?
Oh yeah.
That's kind of the main way, right?
Yeah, I was complimenting you on your camera taking
Thank you.
abilities while you're riding
on
the bike.
my bike. And can I just say that this on this little bike ride counted a lot of snakes. So if you have a fear of reptiles and snakes, there are certain times that you do not want to go to the park.
Luckily, they're pretty laid back as far as snakes goes. You know, everybody thinks of the cottonmouths as what we do have a lot of. I mean, you can't deny it, but
right.
But they're not really aggressive. That's why they get the name. They just kind of pop up with the white mouth, and they're not aggressive. They'll just kind of let you go right around them.
Yeah. And so, but there is so much to see and do when you go to False Cape State Park, and you have to know the lay of the land and the rules, because you have to go through Back Bay to get there. Mm-hmm. You can't take a car, walking and biking.
Yep.
And and if you have a boat, you can get there too. So talk about access to the park, because that's kind of a challenge for people who don't understand it.
It's definitely what we get the most questions about, and it's not somewhere you're going to stumble upon. You're not going to get there by accident. So you do have to plan to get there. You kind of, we have a thing on our website called Know Before You Go, and that's where we reference kind of the frequently asked questions. And Back Bay, we were talking about before we started here, is a little bit more restrictive. They just have different kind of missions. Their agency has a different mission than ours, the National Wildlife Refuge. And so, you can't have a dog, for example, in the wildlife refuge. You can in the park. It's just the challenge of getting the dog to the park around the wildlife refuge.
How is that possible?
You can come by boat. We have a few boat docks on the park that people use coming through Back Bay. We do get a lot of visitors that come. They'll drive the 4x4 section of the Outer Banks all the way to it dead ends at the horse fence we were talking about, and they go take their dogs.
So do they drive and just park their truck on the beach?
On the south end, yeah.
South end?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just bring their dog that way?
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah. Yeah, you're allowed to do that.
Okay, interesting. Biking is a really good way to see the park.
Yeah, and luckily, over the past handful of years, I think since COVID especially, e-bikes, so electric bikes, are becoming even more popular. And that's nice because it is, where you park, you basically go down to the south end of Sandbridge and you have to park there at their visitor center at the National Wildlife Refuge and then bike or walk from there. And that's another 3 miles to get before you even get into False Cape. So it is a little bit of a hike or a bike, and the e-bikes have allowed people that, the 3 miles otherwise would have been really difficult. They can get down there in just a few minutes.
And Austin, when the e-bike really is really handy when you want to spend the night and camp or stay in a cabin or whatever that you want to stay at False Cape State Park. And we'll talk more about that in our third segment coming up. But when you go to False Cape State Park, you're going to notice that you are surrounded by nature in so many different ways. You're part of the migratory, the flyway that, so much waterfowl fly through. You always see birds. You've got all kinds of raptors and you name it. What do you see out there on a regular basis? Lots of deer, lots of birds, lots of, you name it.
Yeah,
right?
A little bit of everything.
Yeah.
A lot of people come out for the birds. That's definitely one of the biggest draws with the impoundments there. And oddly enough, we were talking about restrictive access with the getting to the park. The refuge actually closes down November 1st through March. So from November through March, you can't even get to the park unless you come by boat or hike the beach because they close down access on the interior trails to allow for migratory birds. But we still do tram tours and things like that in the wintertime to allow people to come in and especially view the birds that are migrating through.
Okay, I want you to explain that one more time.
Sure.
So to get there, you can't because of Back Bay, right?
Yeah.
They stop the trail,
Yep.
but you have a tram tour that you can still take that time of year.
Yep, in the wintertime. Yeah, we do the tram tour year-round, but especially in the wintertime, it's really nice for people because, it helps you view the migratory birds that you otherwise aren't able to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff right there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you've got deer, you've got all the kinds of the muskrats, you've got what else do you see out there? I guess bobcat. I mean, if you're lucky, you see a bob. I mean,
I've seen one bobcat and one fox since I've been there. They're just
not
really
many
elusive.
Fox, right? Yeah.
I don't know if there is a lot or not. It's just hard.
Yeah.
You just don't really get to see them that much. And
Yeah, and
a lot of coyotes.
There used to be wild pig back there, but they're gone.
Yep.
And I'm stunned.
They're
that
gone
y'all-
for now. Yeah, for now.
I mean, when I heard the story about that, I'm like, really? How do you eradicate that species? Because they multiply fast.
Yeah, they can be a problem for sure. USDA, I think, came in the early 2000s and started. I was at Florida State Parks for a little bit, and down there it was a problem as well. And USDA was helping them out, to trap and remove the pigs. And they're cool to see because it's unique, but
They cause so much damage.
they're destructive.
Yeah. So the last time I was down there, I saw a harrier, which was really cool. And just last weekend, I spotted an owl, a barred owl at First Landing, which is hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, are you able to? I mean, you live on the park, so you're seeing
I'm
beautiful
lucky.
sun. Yeah, you are very lucky.
Yeah.
You're seeing beautiful sunrises and sunsets. What's that like living on the park? Because that's extremely unique in itself.
Yeah, we have 2 residents that live on the park. I live there with my wife and my little girl, and we have a chief ranger that lives at the south end near Washwoods that you visited. He lives down there with his wife. So we live on site, and part of that is just being on call and being able to respond to people because it is so remote. Most of the calls that we get are just people that get down there and didn't expect, how difficult it was and are having a hard time getting back or overheating or, usually it's medical reasons. But yeah, we're down there. My closest neighbor is 3 or 4 miles away, and pros and cons. Long way to the grocery store, but
Hey neighbor,
nice.
can you spare an egg? I'm doing some baking.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are definitely some things to learn, and there's also an amazing feature at False Cape State Park called Washwoods. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back and talk about that with Austin Monnett from False Cape State Park. So stick around. And welcome back to Life Outdoors. I'm your host, Chris Reckling. We are joined today by Park Manager Austin Monnett from False Cape State Park. Austin, in the first segment, we got to know a little bit about yourself, but we also got to know a lot about False Cape State Park. But we didn't even talk on the biggest feature when it comes to False Cape State Park. I mean, it's all about nature when you go there, and unspoiled and beautiful and very unique. But there's a bunch of people that used to live there 100 years ago. at Wash Woods, which is, if you go there, you definitely want to get there to see it because it's hard to imagine living down there back in the 1800s.
Yeah, I cannot imagine. They have to have been pretty hardy people to have made it. But yeah, we talk about the Wash Woods community. People have been in the area since the 1700s and up until as recently when the park was created or the state started buying the property in the 60s. But the Wash Woods community is kind of a 80-year period between 1850s and 1930s.
Yeah, and we know that area down there, especially off the Outer Banks and in that area as well, because it's still part of the graveyard of the Atlantic. Ship traffic came through all up and down the coast, and there were shipwrecks everywhere, and that's how it started. They just, once they came off the ship, boom, then they sort of made it their place, right? I mean, that's how it kind of started.
Yeah, a big portion of the people that lived in that area were directly as a result of shipwrecks. And there's a church steeple that we have. When you go down there, you'll see, and that's the remains of the Wash Woods Methodist Church, I believe is what it was called. And the wood, it's cypress wood, and the actual wood from that church was because of a shipwreck. Cypress, they were delivering wood from the Gulf of Mexico, I believe, and when that ship went down, they took the wood that washed up and actually built the church with that.
And so then you say to yourself, well, what were they doing out there? Well, hunting was a really big deal back in the day, and it was a great place to hunt. They also become lifesavers. They were, sort of people that like to live off the grid. They might have been nomads. They might have been a little crazy, but they made the best of what they had. And there's still, as you see, there are still remains and visible signs of Washwoods. Yeah,
there's three of the more common groups as we kind of talk about the people that lived down there in that time frame, and kind of three categories. One is what we talked about, shipwreck sailors and people that shipwrecked there and for whatever reason decided to stay. Some people ended up down there because of the yellow fever that was a big problem in 1855 in Norfolk, and people were looking to get out of cities to escape the yellow fever, and then also people looking to hide. People running from the law, moonshine,
pirates,
things like that. Yeah. Blackbeard supposedly was on this section of coasts.
Pirates, and also there was apparently a life-saving station, or it was part of that, because along the coast, anyone along the coast was always watching the water as lifesavers too.
Yeah, before the Coast Guard was the U.S. Life Saving Service, and to give them a shout out, there's actually a cool museum up on the ocean front that talks about the history of that, and we actually took a trip up there, and they went over the history, and oddly enough, a lot of the history in this area that talks about the life-saving service originates back in the Washwoods area, because, like you said, it's a graveyard of the Atlantic, and so many ships were unfortunately wrecking there that they had to put some measures in place.
Yeah, they were founded. And as you can see, this is where the steeple is today. And that's what you can see if you go to Wash Woods, and also the graveyard. And, graveyards are interesting and fascinating in so many ways. And when you see the dates on the headstones, it just kind of puts it into perspective that there were people who lived here, that had families, who experienced life in a much different way than we do today.
Yeah, and when you go down there, you'll see, I think, 17 headstones is what is down there now, but supposedly there's over 200 people that are actually buried in that area. But a lot of the graves were marked with kind of wooden crosses, and 100 years later those kind of break down, and we're not sure where they're at now, but there's still the 17 gravestones that are down there now marked by shells. And
there it is.
Yeah.
Is it haunted?
Depends on who you ask.
Have you heard any unusual noises at night out there living out on the Falls Cape State Park?
I have not, but
come on, I know every now and then those fox and raccoons and who knows what else is squealing and
selective
making noise.
Hearing. Yeah.
Selective hearing, but it's not ghosts. Yeah. Okay, so how close is Washwoods to the North Carolina border?
It's a couple miles. Yeah, it's pretty far down there. Yeah.
So if you come up from the south, it's a little easier and quicker to get to. But if you come from the northern part, going through Back Bay, it takes a while.
Yeah, and that's why we do that tram tour that we were talking about, and it, the halfway point, the tram goes all the way down to the Washwoods area and stops. And then they get out and do a little guided hike and then come back. You're about 2 miles from the border when you're at Washwoods, and quite a bit down there from the northern.
And also, when you're there, you can stop in at the station and see some of the relics and some of the stuff that you guys have excavated from the site as well, right?
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people, like you talked about, everybody goes down there for the nature of the park, but the history always surprises people, and that's why we do that tram tour as well. It's called like the Wildlife and History Tram Tour, and we've got some great guides and volunteers and staff that explain, this history, and you could make this 4-hour tram tour, and I mean, it could go even hours longer because they can only touch on so many things. But it surprises people just how much history took place there.
Yeah. All right. So Falls Cape State Park is a beautiful place to see nature, experience nature, the beach, the bay, you name it, and to get some great history with Wash Woods. But you also want to, while you're there, you want to make sure that you know the rules, know that you can spend the night, know that you can. There's a lot of things that you can do, but to do it, you have to know that because there are specific things that you have to get right if you're going to spend time on the Falls Cape Star Park. We're going to take a short break, and we're going to come back with Austin Monnett and talk about that and what you need. So stick around, everyone. You're watching Life Outdoors. And welcome back to Life Outdoors. Today we are talking about Falls Cape State Park with Austin Monnett, who is a park manager there, and he's moved around from several different parks, and he's ended up in Southern Virginia Beach at a spectacular local park that everyone should take advantage of at some point. But how do you take advantage of Falls Cape State Park? Well, you park at Back Bay and then just go. Or not.
If you're wanting to camp, you will not park at Back Bay.
Okay, all right. So if you just want to make a day trip and you want to just walk or ride your bike, how do you do that, Austin?
Yeah, so logistics are definitely something you do need to be aware of and plan. If you're wanting to just come in for the day and hang out, go to the beach, go to the visitor center. A lot of people come down and just grab an ice cream at the visitor center, hang out, and we'll bike back. But you need to park at Back Bay National Wildlife Refuge, which is in the southern tip of Sandbridge. They have a $5 parking fee to park there. And then at their paved parking lot at their visitor center, then that's when the gravel road starts, and you head south from there.
How far is it to get to Falls Cape? You got to go through Back Bay.
From that parking lot, it's about 3 miles.
3 miles?
Yep. So hiking, it'll take you maybe an hour or so, depending on your pace. Biking takes you no time, really.
Yep. Okay. So you have to go through one park to get to the next park. Let's talk about camping, because you can camp. And are there cabins to rent?
We have a lodge, so we don't have your typical state park cabins. We do have a lodge called the Wash Woods Lodge. It used to be an environmental education center. Mm-hmm. Before that, it was a hunting club back in the day, so it's been pieced together. But it's really nice, and but you can't drive, or I guess in theory you could hike to that, but it's way down there at Wash Woods. So what we actually do for that one, and for all camping, is you park at Little Island City Park, and you have to pay for overnight parking. And whenever you book a reservation, we send you all this information. It's also on the website. But you park at Little Island City Park, and if you're at the lodge, we'll pick you up in a 11, 12-passenger van, and you put all your items in the back of a trailer, and we'll actually haul you down to the lodge there and hang out for 2, 3, 4, 5 days, however long you want. And you're close to the beach, but it's right on Back Bay as well, and that's a cool option. But for camping, you also park at Little Island City Park, and you can park overnight there.
What is included at the lodge? You have electricity.
Yeah, it's more modern than what you'd think, being all the way out there. It's really nice. It's got 3 bedrooms on the upstairs. It's 2 stories, and then downstairs has 5 beds in it. So it has 11 beds, but sleeps up to 11 if you want to double up in the queens. And yeah, full kitchen. The only thing that you really need to bring is linens. No state parks provide linens anymore.
Right.
So you'd have to bring your towels and your bedding. But aside from that, it's got a full kitchen. It's nice and modern.
Bring your own food.
Bring your own food.
Bring your own food.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's be a little bit more rustic.
Okay.
And you want to camp.
Yeah. Primitive camping is definitely the style that we have.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be able to pull your camper there. You're not going to be watching TV in the evenings there. And you're also not going to be able to have a campfire there. That's something a lot of people don't realize. And the reason for that is a few different things. We don't want campfires on the beach because of sea turtles. And the fires can be distracting for the sea turtle population, but also just because we are so isolated, if a fire was to get out of hand, it would be detrimental and it would spread really quickly. So just to keep everybody safe, we don't allow fires at the park. But yeah, primitive camping, there is, depending on which section of the park you're at, there is water there, or there's water at the visitor center. So you don't necessarily need to have, haul all your water down with you. You can fill up some canteens when you get down to the visitor center, but there's no electric at the campsites, and it is rustic.
It is rustic, and once again, you mentioned parking at Little Island. So the same thing for camping.
Mm-hmm.
Park at Little Island, and then find your way through Back Bay onto Falls Cape. That's where that e-bike is kind of a nice option.
Yeah,
and bikes.
It sounds daunting, but really, it's on a bike. It's really not that bad. And if
Right.
you're a backpacker, it's not really that bad either. It's about 7 miles total from Little Island down to the campsites that are used the most often. And if you start in the morning, you'll be down there by lunch. It's really not too bad.
Okay, so depending on the time of year, beware of the situation, because this time of year with the heat and is one thing to deal with. So always have water and make sure you have water with you. But sunscreen and bug spray. You guys have some of the biggest mosquitoes that, they'll pick you up and fly off with you.
Yeah, they are ruthless.
You know better than anybody since you live there. You got to have bug spray.
Yeah, definitely have bug spray, sunscreen for sure, especially if you're going to be on the beach for a long time. And those dike roads that you're going to bike and hike on, there's not a lot of shade on those either, so you're going to be exposed. And I want to let people know too that when you book your campsites, there's actual marked campsites, but a lot of people come down. Actually, you can camp on the beach, so you have to have a site reserved that's on the interior side of the park, but you're allowed to set up your tent actually on the beach overnight, and that's what a lot of people really enjoy doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How many people take advantage of that?
I don't know. It depends on the time of year. This time of year is honestly not extremely busy because it is so hot, but the spring and the fall, you need to book your site months in advance because a lot of the weekends are totally sold out, and we've got over 20 sites, and all of them will be booked.
They book up quick.
Yeah.
Okay. Also ticks.
Ticks are bad. Yeah.
Ticks are bad.
Yeah. But as long as you're not going off trail, same thing as talking about the snakes.
Right.
If you stay on the trail,
yeah, you're not going to get ticks.
Yeah, and you're not supposed to really hike off trail in state parks anyway. So as long as you stay where you're supposed to be.
Well, okay. The beach is the beach.
Yeah.
Off trail. Okay, how's the fishing?
Fishing's good. I've done a little bit myself the past few days. But we get a lot of people that come down and try different types. So you've got the freshwater side. Mm-hmm. A lot of people enjoy that. And then just, less than a mile away is the Atlantic side as well.
You have a lot of volunteer opportunities. You have a couple of volunteer groups. Maybe you give them a shout out now.
Yeah, Friends of Falls Cape State Park is our friends group, and they do a lot for us. We're having a little meeting, a potluck, actually, this coming Sunday at Red Mill Park, or Red Wing Park, over in Red Mill. And they do a lot for us. We do weekly maintenance work weeks twice a year. They do programs. They'll do Christmas events like wreath making workshops and Art in the Park series and all kinds of fundraisers and they'll grill out hot dogs on Saturdays here and there and do it as a fundraiser, and people can, get a hot dog with a little donation, unexpectedly when they're biking or hiking down there.
And you have a certain times of year with, did you have a haunted...
The tram tour.
The tram tour is haunted over Halloween.
They do it in October. The Friends group actually hosts that, so they're the ones that put it on, in collaboration with the park, and that's really cool because it focuses on the history of the park. But we don't embellish, but they just tell a little bit more like spooky stories.
Spooky stories.
Yeah.
Well, there's nothing spooky about Falls Cape State Park. It is one of the most spectacular state parks in the state of Virginia, and it is, if you like the beach and if you like the bay, it's right there for you. It's wide open and accessible, and we hope you learned something about Falls Cape State Park with Austin Monnett. Austin, thank you so much for taking the time and coming joining us here on Life Outdoors.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And you mentioned your wife and kids. Throw their name out there.
Wife Bailey and little girl Charlotte.
Bailey and Charlotte, you got to give them a shout out. Austin, thank you so much, and to everybody down there at Falls Cape State Park, we would appreciate you guys. All right, that's it for this edition of Life Outdoors. Don't forget to live your life outdoors, everybody. We'll see you next time right here.